What made you decide that now was the time for Corky St. Clair to come back?
I don't know if that was the main thing in the movie that I was thinking about. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a whim, shall we say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you initially going to have another role, or when you...
No, my other role was to be not in the movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, no, I thank you, but so it was just a little idea, and then I did it. Yeah.
You know, we were talking before we came out, and you said that a question that you're often asked by people that's not your favorite question, and I understand why, is, oh, I love that character you played. Where is he now? And your answer is, well, it's a fictional character, so who really knows? But
I get that all the time, which is odd. That people don't understand that, I don't know if people come up to the actor that played Ben-Hur and say, so what's he doing now? Well, he's not doing anything because he's if he was alive, he'd be dead. Because would be 2,000 years old. But he's not, and he never was real, so. But I keep getting it. I hope maybe someone after the show can ask me that. Yeah.
But my understanding is that for all of you, you do come up with intensive backstories for the characters you're playing now. So I would say,
well, there's not really a we in that. This is actually. I mean, certainly it's not we, but
you and your cast members.
No. This is actually a writing thing, where in this case, Jim Pittick and I spend 6 months writing the backstory for all the actors, all the parts. It's the same way when I work with Eugene Levy. We write the back histories for all the characters, as well as the story, obviously, and what happens in all the scenes. So,
do you have a list of?
Nope. I don't have any lists.
In your mind,
I have a list of guitars that I've collected,
oh, really?
which I have at home. Excuse me. I just flew in from London, not tonight, but recently enough that I'm still. But what was the list you were talking about?
Is there
because that's why we're here.
And do you have a non-literal list?
Yes.
Of potential film ideas that don't make the cut?
So now I'm not being facetious. No, there's no list. There's nothing. No, I finish a project. This took me 2 years to do, and then I tend to meander around a bit. I do a lot of music in between. Between my last film, I did 2 music tours, 2 record albums, some other stuff, and then maybe something pops in my head, or maybe it doesn't.
And was there a germ of the mascot idea? Was there something, or has it been percolating for a while, or did you see something that made you think, I've hit it?
Well, I think there are germs involved.
Like?
Oh, you mean be specific? Yeah. I see. Yes. Well, there are things that you see in your life, and my son was a mascot.
Oh, okay. See, now we're getting somewhere. Just kidding.
This is like a TSA thing down at the airport. Then you get on. My son was a mascot for a football team, 8-man football team, which is not enough, it turns out. And he stood in this thing, and the fan that's in the head of this bird broke the first day, so he just was hot. And I'm not sure why he wanted to do that in the first place. I was drawn to this idea that why would people who are ostensibly interested in entertaining or performing in front of crowds, but do that without being seen, but given the occasional narcissism we see with actors. It's a curious thing that you're anonymous and you're standing in front of people and you're performing to various degrees, and then you go home and who was that? Don't know. Just a guy or a woman dressed as anything. Yeah.
So after the last few films, which were, I think, Warner Brothers and Sony Classics, how did you connect with Netflix for this one? Did they approach you? Or?
Well, I'd met with them. I did a series called Family Tree for HBO about 3 years ago. And I met with 2 people. I'd met with HBO and with Netflix, and I had a very nice meeting at that time, and Netflix said we would like to do this, and I decided at that time to go with HBO, and I remembered the meeting, and I didn't go to anyone else. I had one meeting. I went to Netflix, and I said, I never even met with a film studio. Wow. And they said, great, let's just do this. And the way I work is it's not a conventional situation. There's not a screenplay. There's an outline, and there you go. So they said, sure, let's go.
So you mentioned Family Tree, which is the series you worked on for HBO, and two of the people who were in that, of course, as you all know if you watched the show, was Chris O'Dowd and Tom Bennett.
Right.
Sid the Hedgehog, Tom
Yeah.
Bennett. At what point, working with them on that show, did you think, these are guys I want to have in my next movie?
Well, I can say this about all the actors I've worked with, because these films are different in the sense that they're improvised, which you don't have very often. Actually improvised, based on this work we've done to establish who the characters are and what happens in every scene. I tend to work with the same people because they're great at it. Jane Lynch and the people I've worked with. And Chris O'Dowd was amazing in Family Tree, which was also improvised, and Tom Bennett as well. So I thought of them quite quickly, given that we wanted to have people from other places other than the United States represented in the film.
And then you also, I love Sarah Baker, who I think she got a really big break on Louis C.K.'s show. She had one.
Yes, she's terrific, a lovely actress.
And Zach Woods.
Zach Woods and Susan Yeagley is a new actress I got to meet and work with, and some great people.
How do you scope new people out? Are you constantly trying to find new series on TV, or are you asking people to send you reels, or how do you like to find new people?
I would say none of those things. It's a curious thing, because when I do finally get the name of someone that someone thinks I should see, there's no script to read. There's no audition per se, because I talked to them for about half an hour. David Rubin, who's worked with me for many years as a casting director, is very smart and has a great knowledge of a lot of areas of actors, as opposed to people who are necessarily improvisers. And I trust him, and people come in and I chat with them, and then based on that conversation, we go. And we really go, because once I've described to them what happens in every scene and who the characters are, there's no rehearsal when we shoot. So we start to roll. I say action, which everyone knows means now I'm supposed to talk, theoretically, or not talk, depending on that. And it's a curious talent,
Talk or not talk, you're making me very happy. I'm having like Jennifer Coolidge flashbacks. This is great. Did you hire a choreographer especially for, let's say, Parker Posey with the armadillo stuff, which was so genius? Do you have your actors just kind of go out there and do your own thing, or I would imagine some of this was choreographed?
Well, in the same regard that it's not people just coming to a set and making stuff up. It's very, I've used this analogy probably too many times, but in music, and I've written a lot of music for the films that I've done, especially in jazz and other more modern music, when you improvise, it's based on a melody, essentially. It can be in G, it can be in whatever key. The musicians know the melody, which is established, and then they go off and can play other things, but you're within a structure. You're not just doing whatever you want, and you come back and people solo, and this is akin to that in the sense that this is very strict in where this goes. This has a beginning, middle, and end. Every scene has a beginning, middle, and end. In the same sense, shooting the competition, you can't just have people going out with, doing a lighting setup for 10 hours and just do whatever you want, just have fun, So no, the answer was yes. We found a very gifted, Ryan Heffington is an incredibly gifted choreographer, and he worked with Parker Posey. Parker worked on her own as well in establishing that armadillo piece. She did a lot of that work as well. And we had stunt people as well. So there's a tremendous amount of work goes into it.
How hard is it to edit these films in your editing room, given the fact that, I would imagine there are takes that are wildly different, but there's so much great stuff that you're finding and making it seamless. Is that a challenge?
Well, it's a challenge. It's always a challenge. We had 155 hours of material in this movie, and mainly because at the end we were shooting 5 cameras on the competition. I generally have 60 hours anyway to work with, which is a lot. And given that what the story is. It's different in this. I don't do any editing while we're shooting, and obviously, as you probably all know, you're picking takes in a conventional script where you say that's that, and then you have a rough cut. By the time you're finished shooting, you almost have a rough cut. There's nothing cut, and I sit down with the editor after we finish shooting for 11 months, and we take notes, and we just go in and do the work. Yeah.
Wow. Does it remain freshly funny to you after all that time?
No. No, it becomes a different thing, and it's true with any movie that you're cutting. I've done conventional movies as well, where you've seen it so many times, and you're looking at it from through a different lens, I suppose. And it's
Who in the cast had the most uncomfortable mascot costume?
Well, you realize that, or maybe you don't, that they weren't in them for the performances.
Well, I would imagine Tom Bennett with the unicycle.
Tom Bennett could have done all that work.
Really?
He could have done all that work himself. He's an amazing physical clown. Parker could have done that as well, but given that you have to do it multiple times and it wouldn't have been as much fun. I would say the fist is probably the most difficult one because the guy, the stuntman who was in there was rollerblading in a huge thing, and the hole that he was looking through was about this big.
Oh
and
my gosh.
so unbelievably challenging that he didn't crash every second. Yeah, amazing.
So,
And
but
hot, very hot in there.
I would imagine one of your favorite parts of the process of the movie is to play the guitar on the soundtrack. Is that something you look forward to?
Well, this I only did a couple of things, and normally I've written a lot of the music and played the music, and I didn't on this one, but it is one of the more fun things, and I hope my next one will be a music-centric piece, actually. Yeah.
And you played with Chris, I think is it Thiele?
Thiele.
Thiele from Nickel Creek. He's like,
Chris Thiele played mandolin on this track, and he's now doing a Prairie Home Companion. He's now the host, and he's one of the great mandolin players in the world, and I asked him to do this, and he did.
I love it.
Amazing, yeah.
Well, on behalf of everyone else in this room, I want to say don't wait 10 years before you do another one.
Oh.
We want another one sooner. But Christopher Guest, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Look at this.
See you next time.